Shalom, greetings, and welcome back to the broadcast. This morning, we are continuing our study in the ancient book of Jasher. We're ready for chapter 3 this morning. Chapter 3 deals with kind of the life of Enoch and just kind of the important role that he played during that time. And it also deals with his catching away. And his catching away is very reminiscent of, according to the historical narrative here that we're reading from Jasher, very reminiscent to Elijah's, which happens in 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 11, which we will also take a look at this morning. All right, I have a few thoughts when we get to that part. But other than that, I just want you to hear the historical narrative of Enoch. He was a righteous and holy man, obviously. The book of Genesis tells us that he was righteous and holy, and that he walked with God his whole life, and God caught him up as a result of that. But according to this story, according to this narrative, he plays a really important role within society during that time as well. All right, let's have a look and see what the text says this morning. The ancient book of Jasher, chapter 3. And Enoch lived 65 years, and he begot Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after having begot Methuselah, and he served the Lord, and despised the evil ways of men. And the soul of Enoch was wrapped up in the instruction of the Lord, in knowledge and in understanding, and he wisely retired from the sons of men, and secreted himself from them for many days. Please note, that verse is just, it's beautiful poetically. And it's beautiful in its meaning. So, Enoch walked with God, he begot Methuselah, he despised the evil ways of men, and it says that his soul was wrapped up in the instructions of the Lord. Like, there's something to pray for, right? Lord, I pray that my soul would be wrapped up in the instructions of your ways and your understanding. And so it says that he wisely retired from the sons of men, meaning he separated himself from the world. And as we're going to see, and I'll try not to continue to interrupt here, but as we're going to see through the story, he will often take leave from the people and just disappear. Like, he's got to spend more time with God than he spends with the wicked society. There's some lessons here about getting away, getting to that quiet place. Even Jesus himself, the Son of God, would retire to the mountains to be alone and solitary. Let's continue on. And it was at the expiration of many years, while he was serving the Lord and praying before him in his house, that an angel of the Lord called to him from heaven. And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Rise, go forth from thy house, and from the place where thou dost hide thyself, and appear to the sons of men, in order that thou mayest teach them the way in which they should go, and the work which they must accomplish to enter into the ways of God." And Enoch rose up according to the word of the Lord, and he went forth from his house, and from his place, and from the chamber in which he was concealed. And he went to the sons of men, and he taught them the ways of the Lord. And at that time assembled the sons of men, and acquainted them with the instructions of the Lord. And he ordered it to be proclaimed in all places where the sons of men dwelt, saying, "Where is the man who wishes to know the ways of the Lord, and good works? Let him come to Enoch." And all the sons of men assembled to him, for all who desired this thing went to Enoch. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men, according to the word of the Lord. And they came and they bowed down to him, and they heard his word. Please note, there's something that's jumping into my mind, something I've thought about a lot. as of late. All throughout history, human history, God has appointed godly men for the majority of his people to come to seek wisdom and counsel and understanding. One of the follies that I see of our generation is there's no reverence for godly men and men that God has put in positions of authority or positions of great understanding and wisdom. There's no reverence for them anymore. We live in a time of great personal arrogance, where everybody thinks that they are a scholar. Everybody thinks that they are spiritually above everyone else. There's just arrogancy. There's very little people who are willing to come to the feet of those who have put in the work and the time and committed their lives to these things and actually receive wisdom and instruction. Instead, they are always critiquing the teacher. They always know better. They always understand the Bible better. They know the history better. They know the language better. It's a tragedy. What we've seen throughout all of Christian history, Jewish history, God's people, is there's always these people like Enoch as an example. And you have Moses, and you have every single one of the prophets, and you have the apostles, and you have the church fathers, but eventually we get to this place where we're at now, where there's 1,000 different denominations of churches. Everybody has their own opinion, and if you don't agree with it, we'll just set up our own thing, and there's no real church authority. It's all just kind of muddy. Just a thought that's entered my mind there. Let's continue on. And all the works of the sons of men then assembled to him, for all who desired to sing went to Enoch, and Enoch reigned over the sons of men according to the word of the Lord, and they came and they bowed down to him, and they heard his word. And the Spirit of God was upon Enoch, and he taught all his men the wisdom of God and his ways, and the sons of men served the Lord all the days of Enoch. And they came to hear his wisdom. And all the kings of the sons of men, both first and last, together with their princes and judges, came to Enoch, and they heard of his wisdom. And they bowed down to him, and they also required of Enoch to reign over them, to which he consented. And they assembled in all 130 kings and princes, and they made Enoch king over them. And they were all under his power and command. And Enoch taught them wisdom, knowledge, and the ways of the Lord. And he made peace amongst them, and peace was throughout the earth during the life of Enoch. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men 243 years. And he did justice and righteousness with all his people, and he led them in all the ways of the Lord. So please note, Enoch is essentially set up as king over the kings. And it's almost a beautiful picture of Messiah, right? It's like you got the righteous one ruling over all the other kings, and as a result you have peace. Continuing on. These are the generations of Enoch, Methuselah, Elisha, Elimelech, 3 sons, and their sisters Milcah, Naamah, and Methuselah, lived 87 years and begot Lamech. And it was in the 56th year of the life of Lamech when Adam died. 930 years old was he at his death. And his 2 sons with Enoch and Methuselah his son buried him with great pomp, as at the burial of kings in the cave which God had told them. And in that place all the sons of men made a great mourning and weeping on account of Adam. It has therefore become a custom among the sons of men to this day. And Adam died because he ate of the tree of knowledge, he and his children after him, as the Lord God had spoken. And it was in the year of Adam's death, which was the 243rd year of the reign of Enoch. In that time Enoch resolved to separate himself from the sons of men, and to secret himself at first in order to serve the Lord. So please note, again, after the death of Adam, we have Enoch removing himself from the people to spend his time with the Lord. And Enoch did so, but not entirely secret himself from them, but kept away from the sons of men 3 days, and then went to them for 1 day. And during the 3 days that he was in his chamber, he prayed to and praised the Lord his God. And the day on which he went and appeared to his subjects, he taught them the ways of the Lord. And all they asked him about the Lord, he told them. And he did in this manner for many years. And he afterward concealed himself for 6 days, and appeared to the people 1 day in 7, and after that once a month, and then once in a year, until all the kings and princes and the sons of men sought for him, and desired again to see the face of Enoch, and to hear his words, but they could not. And all the sons of men were greatly afraid of Enoch, and they feared to approach him on account of the godlike awe that was seated upon his countenance. Therefore no man could look at him, fearing he might be punished and die. And all the kings and princes resolved to assemble the sons of men and to come to Enoch, thinking that they might all speak to him at the time when he should come forth amongst them, and they did so. And the day came when Enoch went forth, and they all assembled and came to him, and Enoch spoke to them the words of the Lord, and he taught them the wisdom and knowledge. And they bowed down before him, and they said, "May the king live, may the king live." And in some time after, when the kings and the princes and the sons of men were speaking to Enoch, and Enoch was teaching them the ways of God, behold, an angel of the Lord then called unto Enoch from heaven, and wished to bring him up to heaven, to make him reign there over the sons of God, as he had reigned over the sons of men upon earth. When at that time Enoch heard this, he went and he assembled all the inhabitants of the earth, and he taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instructions. And he said to them, I have been required to ascend into heaven. I therefore do not know the day of my going. And now therefore I will teach you wisdom and knowledge, and I will give you instructions before I leave you, how to act upon earth, whereby you may live. And he did so. Please note there's a lesson here as well. Enoch's told that there's coming a day when he's going to be caught up, and he doesn't know when it's going to be. And so since he doesn't know when it's going to be, he resolves to spend the rest of the time being about God's kingdom, being about God's business. Right, we talk about that, make sure that when the master returns, he finds you busy about his work, busy about the things of God. Don't let him come back and find you thinking to yourself, well, the Lord has delayed his coming, and go back to drinking with the drunkards, it says. Be about God's business. And so that's what Enoch resolves to do. I know I'm going up to being caught up to heaven. Could be any moment. I need to take advantage of the time I have left and make sure that I've done all I can to leave a legacy, to leave behind the instructions of the Lord for the people. Continuing on. And he taught them wisdom and knowledge, and he gave them instruction, and he reproved them, and he placed before them statutes and judgments to do upon the earth, and he made peace amongst them. And he taught them everlasting life, and dwelt with them some time, teaching them all these things. And at that time the sons of men were with Enoch, and Enoch was speaking to them, and they lifted up their eyes, and in the likeness of a great horse descended from heaven. And the horse paced in the air. And they told Enoch what they had seen, and Enoch said to them, On my account does this horse descend upon the earth. The time has come when I must go from you, and I shall no more be seen by you. And the horse descended at that time and stood before Enoch. And all the sons of men that were with Enoch saw him. And Enoch then again ordered a voice to be proclaimed, saying, Where is the man who delighteth to know the ways of the Lord his God? Let him come this day to Enoch before he is taken from us. And all the sons of men assembled, and they came to Enoch that day, and all the kings of the earth with their princes and counselors remained with him that day. And Enoch then taught the sons of men wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instruction. And he bade them to serve the Lord and walk in the ways all the days of their lives. And he continued to make peace amongst them. And it was after this that he rose up and rode upon the horse. And he went forth, and all the sons of men went after him, about 800,000 men. And he went with him one day's journey. And the second day he said to them, Return home to your tents. Why will you go? Perhaps you may die. And some of them went from him, and those that remained went with him 6 days' journey. And Enoch said to them every day, Return to your tents, lest you may die. But they were not willing to return, and they went with him. And on the 6th day some of the men remained and clung to him, and they said to him, We will go with thee to the place where thou goest. As the Lord liveth, death only shall separate us. And they urged so much to go with him, that he ceased speaking to them. And they went after him, and they would not return. And when the kings returned, they caused a census to be taken in order to know the number of remaining men that went with Enoch. And it was upon the 7th day that Enoch ascended into heaven in a whirlwind, with horses and chariots of fire. And on the 8th day all the kings that had been with Enoch sent to bring back the number of men that were with Enoch, in that place from which he ascended into heaven. And all those kings went to the place, and they found the earth there filled with snow, and upon the snow were large stones of snow. And one said to the other, Come, let us break through the snow and see, perhaps the men that remained with Enoch are dead, and are now under the stones of snow. And they searched, but they could not find him, for he had ascended into heaven. And that is chapter 3 and the story of Enoch. Now it says, as far as how he was taken up, it says, And when the kings returned, they caused the census to be taken in order to know the number of remaining men that went with Enoch. And it was upon the 7th day that Enoch ascended into heaven in a whirlwind with horses and chariots. By the way, there's also it doesn't really come right out and say it, but there's kind of this illusion that the few people that remained with Enoch, so he kept riding the horse, and every day he would send more people. They would tell them to return to their tents, but there was some who didn't return. And their attitude was, we're going to go wherever you go. So there's this sense in which maybe these individuals were also caught up with him. But it's kind of like alludes to it, but doesn't actually come right out and say it. But he's taken up in a chariot of fire. This is the same way in which Elijah is taken up. So if you've got the energy, let's read just 11 more verses before we wrap things up this morning. 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. This is the story of Elijah being caught up. And it came to pass, when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went from Elisha and from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha, and they said unto him, Knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, Yea, I know it. Hold your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Jericho. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. Please notice it's the same scenario, right? You have these followers of Enoch. They're like, no, we refuse. We're going to follow you wherever you go. In the same way, Elijah's protege, Elisha, the one who would basically take the mantle, literally, that's where the phrase comes from, take the mantle, from Elijah, refuses to leave as well, follows him all the way. And Elijah said unto him, Tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to the Jordan. And he said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And so they two went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophet went, and they stood in view afar off, and they stood by the Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle, and he wrapped it together, and he smote the waters, and they divided hither and thither, and so that the two of them went on dry ground. That's an interesting thing. I'm sure we overlook. He smote the waters, and the waters divided. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said to Elisha, Ask what I shall do for thee, before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let me have a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire, and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. The last thing I'll point out, in both of these events, it was not in secret, not completely in secret. In the events where the people are caught up, it's never in secret, it's always with an audience. In this case, there was a lot of people following Enoch. In the book of Elijah, Elijah had, it said, like 50 people standing across the Jordan and watching, plus Elisha was there. Elisha, however you want to say it. In the book of Revelation, we just read about the two witnesses, right? They're killed in the streets, and then they're caught up to heaven in front of the whole world. It's never in secret. It's always been, when these types of things happen, in the presence of men. When Jesus ascended into heaven, it was not in secret, but with an audience. So this idea that there will be a secret rapture does not hold up biblically, historically. I'm not saying there's not a gathering or a catching away. I'm saying the timing of it is certainly debatable. Our mission is to be about our Father's business until the day, not argue about when the day, but to be busy. And when it does happen, I would think it would follow suit with all the other times it's happened, and it'll be in the eyes of the masses, not in some secret way. There's my thoughts for this morning. Hey, I pray you've been blessed and strengthened. And I pray that you are still enjoying and loving this podcast, and that you haven't gotten bored with it after 11 years now. If you are still being blessed by it, please pray for me, pray for the podcast, and please consider supporting it financially. Peace and grace be with all of you. And until next time, God bless.